So welcome to session 2 of our Premier Skill Builder. One of the things I wanted to mention to you guys is we started a Slack channel. So that link was in the email you got today. It's also at the top of our Spark page. And what we're doing in the Slack channel is a couple of different things. So you can share what you create and get feedback from people. And it's everyone who's in all the summer skill builders there. So you can see what the Photoshop people are doing. You can see what the After Effects people are doing and just kind of pop in and look at work. And you can also use that as a way to get a hold of me. So if you have a question on how to do something, or if you just like want some feedback and maybe a little critique on something, you can direct message me inside of Slack and do that. And it's kind of a cool way to share things. So one of our other skill builder people had asked for that. So we've got a Slack channel. So today we're going to look at social media edits. And we're going to start with that kind of tiny sequence that we built in session 1 and turn that from something that we would post in on, say, YouTube to something that we might post on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. So I've got some links for you here. And these links are going to go to a couple of different web pages. One is this, I think this is just the most valuable resource in the world. This is the Social Sizes IO webpage. And here you can pop in, not only download templates if you want it, but more valuable, have the exact sizes that you need for where you're going to bring your social media content. So really critical there. The other links I have for you are actually going to JSchool Tech, which is my training website. And I have social media sequence settings and social media export settings for you. So all of those will help you create the great look for social that you need. And then finally, I have a link to some royalty-free music on Bin Sound. So one of the things I'm going to do today is bring in some music and kind of show you how you can edit that down a little bit. We won't get into a lot of audio today, but just a little bit. So here's our to-do list that we are going to go through today. And when I start the demo, I just encourage you to take notes. If you have questions during the demo, feel free to ask. And then when I finish, you can just jump in and start practicing and ask me any questions. And so we'll just have you practice the skills that you learned today, ask any questions, and then your little assignment is just to put together a social size personal introduction. So you can do your own interview clips or B-roll clips with that. So that's where we are headed today. So I'm going to jump over to Premiere. So I'm going to just do a new share and hop over to Premiere. So you should recognize the clips from last week. And I just brought those into a quick little sequence. I'll just play through a couple of seconds of it so you can see it. And so one of the things I like to teach students to do is kind of work smarter, not work harder, which is a nice way of saying sometimes I like to be lazy. So oftentimes when we're doing video content, we might be repurposing the same video content to different mediums. So this is designed as a regular YouTube HD 920 by 1080 video, but I like the sequence I've set up and I want to use that in my social sequence. We can totally do that. So this is going to be kind of a starting point for where we head. So I'm going to start actually by setting up a sequence specifically for social media. If you remember last time, we just drug our best clip that had video and sound over first and let that clip establish the settings. We're going to do things a little bit with social media because we need to use those specific sizes I showed you on the social.io. We need to set up that sequence. So to set up a sequence, you go to File, New, woohoo, and sequence. And you can see down on this left-hand side, you have all kinds of available presets. So we're going to start with a digital SLR sequence, and we're going to set it up as a 1080p at 30 frames. So this is our starting point, but we're going to change those because this is the classic 1920 1080 and 480 on the audio. So we're going to go into our settings, and I'm going to alter my frame size. I'm going to leave my time base here, and I'm just going to plug in my new values. So I'm going to use the Instagram large frame in the feed. And so this is basically a 4x5 video structure. And I'm going to change the sample rate on my audio just down to 44/100. Everything else is the same. Now, if this is going to be something I use a lot, I can save this as a preset. And then when I go into my presets, it would be listed at the bottom. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and name my sequence, and we're going to call this social sequence, and we're going to put a number on it. And I'm going to hit OK. And so now I have this blank sequence that I can bring content into, and you can see that size right there. And I'm going to pop over here to that first sequence, and I'm literally going to select everything. So just marqueing over it. I'm going to copy it with just a Command C. Back in my social sequence, my playhead is right at the beginning, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it. Was there a question? No? Okay. So I pasted my sequence in. Now I'm going to need to do some tweaking, because you can see when I brought that in, my video doesn't quite fit the framing since I copied it. Not a problem. I'm just going to make sure that I get things sized. So I am going to be cropping my video using this method, but it's not horrible. I think that one, so I just kind of scrubbed through my clips. That one turned out pretty okay. This one, I think will be okay. It's centered correctly. We'll just need to scale it so we don't have some black bars. I might bring it down a little bit. So you go through your clips and just do a little bit of tweaking to them. And that one turned out okay, but we're going to make sure that, yes. This one definitely has some bars on it, so we'll scale this up and center the action a little bit more. Now you do have to kind of keep an eye on the video quality as you scale things. But in all of these cases, we're not scaling them up by such a percent that the view is compromised in any way. And in this case, this clip was so much bigger than where we are that we're actually fine with that framing. And we'll tweak this one a little bit. I think I want to make sure he's in the middle. We'll probably need to make sure. Yep, very good. All right, so we have just scaled existing video into a new sequence. Now, a couple of tips on this, and you probably saw me doing this. I not only kind of want to scrub my playhead across the clip, I want to make sure I have that clip selected. So here, notice I have my swimmers in frame in the program playback, but it's not selected. So I need to come down here in my timeline, select that clip, come in here and double click, and then I have both of those selected, and I can then scale those down. You don't need to hold down any shift keys or command keys or anything like that when you scale things down. So another thing that you frequently use in social is speed changes. So this video is actually slowed down. So I'm going to speed it up. So I'm going to select that clip, control or right click on it, and I'm going to go to speed and duration. Now your speed of your clip is actually at 100%. So if I wanted it to be faster, that would be above 100%. If I want it to be slower, it would be at 50%. Reverse speed is when things go backwards. So if you've ever seen video where someone is pouring the coffee, but it looks like the coffee is going in the wrong direction, that's what reverse speed is. This ripple edit, if I bring this clip down, I'm going to end up with a little space here, a little gap. And this means that Premiere will just ripple edit all those clips, kind of close up that blank area. So I'm going to change my speed to 50, or excuse me, I'm going faster. I'm going to speed it up. So I'm going to do 50. And we're going to ripple clips. We're going to hit OK. There we go. So you can see we've sped that clip up and it goes a little bit quicker then. I think it looks a little bit nicer. So you can manipulate the speed of any clips that you want inside your social sequence to kind of improve them. And that's a quick way to do that. Let's use this clip. And with this clip, let's play with that speed and duration. And this time, let's just reverse the speed. And so this is what we will get. Basically, it looks like he's skiing up the mountain. Now, I don't know why you would want to do that, but some of like the coffee things, they look kind of cool when you play with those speeds and everything. All right, so my next topic is transition techniques. And I am one of those, just because I have a stronger news background, I am not a fan of transitions. They give me the heebie-jeebies. I think you should edit your clips within transitions and use voiceover and music to make transitions make sense. But I know stylistically there's a lot of flexibility in the land of transitions. And so things like cross dissolves that used to just be absolutely forbidden, don't use it, pain of death, those are coming back into fashion. I've even seen some like dips or fades that people are doing. And on certain occasions, I'm a big fan of using light leak transitions. So I'm going to show you how to use all of those. And some of them will probably look familiar to you. So I'm going to come over here between these two clips. And over in my project bin, I downloaded some light leaks. So this is all a light leak is. It's just video of literally light. And you can actually create your own light leaks within things like After Effects. You can also film them in different ways. I got these all from Adobe Stock. So if you go to stock.adobe.com, you can download these. If you pay for them, you can remove the watermark. Since I was just doing this for demonstration, I decided not to worry about them. So I've got a couple of different light leaks here that I was interested in kind of playing with. So this first one is going to be a light leak that I put in between these two clips. And we're just going to kind of compare some different light leaks. So I have about 2 seconds of this clip, and I'm going to set my out point right there in that clip. And again, that's just using O while I move my playhead. So now I'm going to take my clip, and there's a couple of different ways I can do this. So I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different things. The first thing I can do is I can flat insert it. So when I click that insert button, and again, my playhead is right between those two clips, it pops that clip right in there. So I'm going to scale this clip as well. And so now we have a light leak. So when we play through, that light leak becomes our transition. And we can edit that as far as we want. We can also, and I'm going to just Command Z to undo that. I can also just put it on V2, or that second video track. And so I can bring that down here. And when I do this technique, what I might want to do is create some bumps in this video. So again, I'll scale that. Now, I will say that I don't know that light leaks look great with the topic I've chose here, but I have seen light leaks on social that I've actually enjoyed, and I was as surprised as you are probably. So we're just going to move and get these selected. So there we go. So now in this case, we just create a little bump there, and I could bump these even a little bit more if I wanted to. So then our look is just, and it kind of lives in its own layer. The next type are the ones you're familiar with, the cross dissolves and the different fades. So to get to those, I'm going to open up my effects panel. So I'm in the top, I'm going to click on effects. And what I'm looking for are video transitions. And you're welcome to play with any of these. I will give you the caution. Like if you remember when your elementary school teacher got a hold to the Prezi and you needed to wear like your nausea patches in the 3rd grade, that's not the look you're going for here, okay? So I would say stay into these like cross dissolves or dips as your best option. So I'm just going to drag a couple of them down here, and then we can play with them. Okay, so now I'm going to expand this track a little bit. Oh, and I was teaching video yesterday in J419, and they said that, Heather, I never get to see what my clips look like. And sometimes I forget it's the small things. So you can see me expanding tracks so I see more. Then the secret of seeing the full length of your clips is to go up to this hamburger menu and make sure that you're on continuous video thumbnails. So if you like that look, that's how you do that. All right, so we're going to look inside these transitions and just kind of play through them. So here's my cross dissolve. And you can see up here, I'm getting a little preview of that. And I can trim the length of that cross dissolve. And here's how that plays. So you can see right there, I'm seeing both clips at once. And so it's that kind of division. Over here, and I think we might have, because it's a little shorter, dip to black might be having some problems. But you can see that dip to black overlaps both, and I can expand that duration to play as well. And so now, oh, it needs to play through there. Let's go back a bit. So you can see it dips to that black, and then we play that full scene. The dip to white works very much the same way. So there's our dip to white, and we can expand that. And we'll just play this through. And that's our dip to white. So you can use your transitions to create some of that just kind of movement from one clip to the next. I'm going to go back to editing. I'm actually a bigger fan, and we'll do this, I think next week. Well, yeah, next week is when we'll do this. I'm a big fan of using music for my transition. And so that's that technique when we're syncing to the beat, and it's almost like we're ready for a transition because we hear it in the beat. Speaking of music, we're going to add a music track in here just so we can see it and see what that looks like. And so I downloaded this from that Bin Sound. I'm going to bring that into my A1 channel. And you can see my music is a little bit longer than my video. So I'm just going to come here to the end and trim that off. Now, a word about Bin Sound, you can't use it to mix songs, and I don't think you can use it on podcasts. So when you go to that website to download, just make sure you follow those instructions that come with it. So here's what we have so far, keeping in mind that we have different transitions. So you can see how that's working. You can also hear that music and the strong changes in that beat, and that's what we're going to look at next week to kind of sync. So we've got some music in, we've played with some reframing. Let's look at how we can add some simple motion graphics to our sequence. So I'm going to show you two different techniques, one using existing graphics and the other creating your own. So I'm going to start by using my track forward select, and I'm going to move just my track down just to make sure I have some room here at the beginning. Just deselect everything then. So I'm going to go into my graphics panel. So keep in mind there's two ways to access graphics. This is your graphics menu, and this is your graphics panel or workspace. So I'm going to access that graphics workspace. And here I have all kinds of different graphics templates I can use, or also known as motion graphics templates. So I can scan through and kind of play through what these look like, and some of them are going to have motion to them, and some are just stand still. And so we're going to go down here. You can use some as like call out. So there's a lot of really good stuff you can explore. And there's tons of these available online. A lot of people offer really good free motion graphics. Now these are pretty, a lot of things moving around. So those are kind of cool. Let me see. This is the one we want. We're going to play with this modern title. And so I'm going to just take this, and I'm just going to drag it right into my timeline. And so here's what that modern title does. And so it just has that little movement at the end. We're going to extend that just a bit. So now to edit that, all I need to do is click on it. I'm in my editing. So it's still on that right-hand side with that essential graphics. And I can change my text just by double clicking on it. Find something that fits with our theme. And I can change the fonts. So even though it came with a certain font, if I decide, you know what, I need this to be a little bit bigger, and maybe I'm not really wild, although I will say Source Sans Pro and Source Serif Pro are both pretty good. I'm a big fan of the Acumen family. So I'm going to play with one of those. Let's do bold. Make it a little smaller. I can also change the text fill color. I'm going to go ahead and leave it this color, but you can see all of the different features that I can change, just like you would do with any text editing. Whoops. There we go. And I can also change the shape below it. So this is just a stroke line, and I'm going to click that, and we're going to change that to a really pretty bright blue and hit OK. So I've edited my motion graphics template, and so it will go right like that. Now I can bring, and I can trim this however I want. Now I can grab the rest of those tracks and bring those back, or I can use the technique that we used last week, where you control click that space and just ripple delete, and everything comes back. So now we have a nice intro. Now let's do that same thing, but we're going to do it ourselves. So I'm at the very end clip, and I'm going to build my own motion graphics. So I'm going to start with some text, and we're just going to say, get out. Let's do semi-bold, and we'll do another one over here, and we're going to say, get moving. And this one we need to change size. So when you do these, one of the things to keep in mind is just consistency. So it looks weird if these are different sizes. So just kind of be consistent in your choices as you work. Okay, so now we've got some text in here, but it's going to be really easy. Oh, and speaking of text, you have alignment. So if I wanted this to be in the center, I would just click align vertically, get that centered in that document. And you just can click and move things as you like. And this is like a layers panel over here. So that can oftentimes, if you have other things, help you kind of get those selected. So now we're going to add some graphics behind this, kind of like that line that we had at the beginning. So I'm going to go graphics, new layer, rectangle. And keep in mind that's my graphics menu. I'm going to move this below get moving. I'm going to turn off my stroke, turn on my fill, and I'm going to change the color. Make this a little bit bigger. That's going to go right below here. Just a little bit larger than that. Excellent. And we'll do another one again from that graphics menu. And notice you have ellipses, and you can also bring things from file. So say you design something like a logo in Photoshop or Illustrator, you could bring that file in as well and design it. Pointing out to you, notice that it kept the same colors even when I went to design a new one. So you don't have to worry about color matching. But I hope you saw when I click that color chip, I can enter color values or specific hex defs right there. So very cool. I just have some plain text, but wouldn't it be more cool if they moved? Of course it would. So over on the left-hand side, I have an effect controls panel, and you'll notice I have text, get moving, shape. So it's these exact same layers that I have over here, I have over here. And if I open them up, you can see I have things I can start manipulating. And what I'm actually going to manipulate is under this transform menu. And so I'm going to go down. This is my timeline right here. And I'm going to say, at this point, I want this shape to be right here. So I'm going to click my keyframe. That added a keyframe right here. Now all I have to do, I'm going to move the thing about this. There we go. Okay. I'm going to move back down in my time, and I'm going to say, I actually want this to move in from off the screen. So I'm going to select this, and move it off screen. And you can see I have a little direction handle right here. And as I play through this, you can see it's just going to move right into frame. Now, if I just wanted it to stay there, that's the end. I'm done with it. But in this case, I actually want to play around with that text as well. So I'm going to open up my text. Same thing, I'm looking for my transform menu. And I can even see where my previous keyframes are. So I want my text to just run a little bit slower. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to click my position, and it's adding on that layer. Now I'm going to go back, and same thing as I did before, I'm just going to drag that off frame so that when we play this, there's my text. And so you can animate and create your own text scrolls, text movement, as well as using the provided graphics. All kinds of fun things in here. You play with the same way, so the opacity or rotation. You can do some pretty decent animation of content right here. So if you wanted text to come across your screen in social, that would allow you to do that. Okay, so a couple more things we're just going to look at real quick. I'm going to go back to my editing panel, and we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to look at how we go ahead and export. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm in my timeline, so just note that my social sequence is selected. And media. All right, format is always H.264. Now we need to look for presets. Well, there's a lot of social that's already in here, but you will notice they actually don't have an Instagram. So that's where, cancel that. That's where having my little quick tips are super helpful. So over on my Premier Archives on JSchool Tech, here's our social media settings. And so we're going to do the match source with a VBR2, target of 6, and a max of 10. So we'll swap back to our Premier and look at where we find all those things. All right, so H.264, matching the medium bit rate. And where we're going to find these other passes are all under our additional options. So all under our additional settings right in here. So you can see there's our VBR, and we want to do a VBR2 pass. And our target bit rate is going to be 6. And our max is going to be 10. And our audio should be okay. And we're going to change this sample rate to the 44,100. So now we'll go ahead and export. Now, is it going to completely blow this whole sequence if you don't happen to choose the right one? No, but you definitely want to make sure that you're matching the sequence settings. So at the very least, if you don't have that information, choose to match sequence settings and you'll be fine. I'm actually going to cancel this so we don't have to sit and watch an export. Okay, so one other thing that I just wanted to show you really quickly is under the sequence menu, you have a lovely thing called auto reframe sequence. So let's say that you've created this and then you realize, oh gosh, I don't want it the vertical 4, 5. I want it square. I'm going to just choose that square, hit create, and it just built me a brand new sequence in a square. Now, as I scrub through here, and I'm actually going to mute so we don't have to listen to music, you can see it changed my text size. It reads, it uses Adobe's artificial intelligence to read your content and make sure that it's perfectly framed. So with one sequence, we went to a 4 by 5 to a square in under 30 minutes. So pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share. All right, so I would love it, and of course this is up to you and how much time you have. I would love it if you kind of practice skills from our first 2 sessions and put together a social sized, like personal introduction. You can do personal interviews if you want, or if you just want to do B-roll clips, add a voiceover. We haven't really talked about that. We're going to talk about that next time, but just to kind of practice the skill. So anything we've done the first 2 sessions you want to put in together, you can. 30 to 60 seconds, so keep it short. And then what we're going to do for next session is kind of a combination of things. So we're definitely going to look at some music and audio. And then we might do some color editing or things we can do with color for cohesion in diverse clips. So part of that is going to include syncing some clips to music. So I will have a music file that we can practice with, and we'll be using the video files from week 1 for a really cool technique I'm going to show you. So that's where we're headed. So I'm going to stop recording.